everybody, welcome to Aniview Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about Chaos Head. Chaos Head was made by Madhouse, and it just finished right at the end of 2008, so last semester.
So, a summary of Chaos Heads, we'll start with Takumi, who's the main character, and he lives in a storage crate, don't really know where, and he has a very odd life. He is obsessed with the 2D world. He loves video games, anime, anything in that sort of genre, and he hates sort of 3D life. You know, he doesn't want a 3D girlfriend or anything. And maybe because of this or something like that, you don't really know at the beginning, he has started to create delusions, and he's sort of seeing these. And one of the first ones you meet is Sierra Tan. And Sierra Tan is this character from one of his video games or maybe an anime, not really sure. But anyways, she is this over-sexualized, you know, serves his every whim sort of girl. You know, she's a magical fighting girl. And so he goes to school, and he meets all sorts of characters, and they're all girls, and they each have a different theory of sort of what these delusions are happening, and they all relate to these things called the New Gen murders, which continue with.
So basically, the New Gen murders are, well, basically these string of murders, or mysterious murders. No one really knows. They're very, very odd. And basically, it kind of starts off, I mean, this is the first episode. Takumi is playing his games, he's surfing his forums, and basically he gets messaged by this person named Grim, I believe. And basically, Grim sends him this picture, and it's a picture of this guy, like a real person, pinned to a wall with these metal stakes, and obviously he's dead. And people are talking, oh, New Gen Murder number 3, New Gen Murder number 3. However, only New Gen Murder, they're only up to 2. So this is a murder that hasn't even happened yet.
Comes out like anime episodes, you know?
Yeah.
Third one hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. So Takumi is very, very freaked out, and he doesn't really know what's going on. And basically, as he's walking, I think it's the next day after school, he's walking home, and he hears this noise, and he goes down this alleyway, and he sees the same thing that happened in this picture. This guy pinned to the wall with these like silver sharp metal stakes, and he just loses it. He's like, what's going on? This is very, very freaky. Is this a delusion? No, I don't think so. And you kind of try to figure out what's going on with these New Gen murders at the start of the anime.
Mm-hmm. So those continue on a bit throughout the anime, but really what you start to see is he's getting delusions about a lot of stuff, and these delusions relate to explicitly 6 different girls.
Yeah.
So you meet a lot of them pretty quickly, and one of them is Rimi, this pink-haired girl who's the one he saw murdering this guy with the stakes, and she's in his class.
Yeah,
in his
she's like his best friend for some reason, and he never even realized that she was there. Mm-hmm. And
oddly, she's like, you know, we're best friends, and he's like, I don't remember.
I don't know you.
Friends.
You're a crazy psycho girl. You killed somebody.
It's very odd. Like it feels like he almost just like insert in the world, and he's like, why do I have these friends? You know, it doesn't make sense to him, or to you as the viewer. Yeah, and that brings to the point about the confusion of the first few episodes. So the anime is really confusing stuff. They throw a lot of terminology too. You know, that really, you know, you have to like pay attention to keep up. Because if you miss a definition of something important, right, they don't bring it back up. They just use the word as much as they want. And I mean, because we'll start with some of that. So you find out that there's these people walking around with things called D-swords. Yeah. So these like sort of half-invisible swords, kind of they carry around. They're huge.
Yeah. And only he thinks he's the only one who can see it. But how obviously, except for the person, he meets one of the girls, one of the 6. There's a girl named Senna, and she's just walking around eating a popsicle, has this giant sword over her shoulder, and he's just, what is this?
What are you doing in the middle
of
town?
And no one else realizes that she has this sword. Yeah. And he kind of goes up and talks to her and says, you can see my sword, can't you? And he's like, well, yes, I can. And he's like, well, you must be special, too. And it explains that as the anime goes on.
So you find out some of these characters are special in some they can see things that other people can't see. So yeah, that's how the story sort of goes on. You see these D-swords, and he wants to get one, and a lot of the characters try to explain how he can get a D-sword.
But it's very confusing.
Yeah, it never really makes sense. And a lot of the characters have their own theories of what's happening. A lot of them don't really mesh easily, these theories. One girl, for example, Yua, she says that he has multiple personalities. And these multiple personalities may be creating these delusions and may be causing the New Gen murders.
Yeah. Right.
And it's really odd. Like, does that make sense? And you find out, no, it doesn't really mesh. That doesn't really solve all the problems. And another girl says, there's these electronic waves going through, and he's like, well, does that really make sense? I'm not sure, and such. So you get all these theories sort of built up in the anime.
Yeah, I'd say like about halfway through the series, it kind of switches a little bit. I mean, because for the first 5-6 episodes, it's very psychological, you have no idea what the hell's going on. You're trying to piece it together yourself. And then when you meet these girls with the D swords, she starts explaining like all these, like we said, all these like terminology. Like you have D swords and real booting, which is like making, turning delusions into reality, and blind spot of a person's mind is like this place where you send you can pass electronic waves into other people's heads to make delusions into reality. It's just very, very odd, and it kind of as he gets more closer to these characters, they kind of form a group-ish kind of people, and it kind of switches. Like even the second half of the series is very like you have like a villains introduced, and like where it's just very, very odd.
Mm-hmm. And it has some philosophical elements too. You know, if you have people who are seeing delusions, right? And, you know, if one person sees a delusion, they're delusional, right? But if everyone sees the delusion, what is it now?
Is it reality?
Is it real? And so that's kind of like one of the center questions that this sort of anime asks. And the villain is sort of making a machine that may be able to create massive delusions and such. And you're like, well, what sort of implications does that have? So you see all these things, but it also has other undertones. It sort of portrays otaku culture and such. And this main character, you know, he just wants to live his life. He just wants to live, you know, playing his video game stuff. Yet he gets thrown into this like ridiculous sort of happenings.
Mm-hmm.
So it has different elements mixed in. It also has a sort of touching little love story goes on between him and one of the girls. Mm-hmm. Also, this other character that they meet, and one of the girls likes him and doesn't want him to die and such. Yeah. And so you see, there's a lot of good dynamics, especially near the end. They all sort of come together.
Because like in the beginning, you're very confused, but as the episodes go on, if you can stick with it, like I know I almost quit it. I think around episode 4 because I was just I couldn't grab onto anything. I didn't know what was going on. I was so confused. I was like, the hell with this. But I stuck with it, and if you can stick with it, it eventually will piece itself together for you. Like I said, terminology is a little bit confusing if you don't grasp it right away, but the actual storyline of what's going on, it does piece together. There's a pretty big twist too around, I think it's episode 10. That is I love that. I love twists. So that shocked me. I love that. So yeah.
You know, so the core of this anime we really enjoyed. One little annoyance that we found, this is sort of a side note, is his uniform. So the main character's uniform, everyone has this uniform, but on him it looks very odd for some reason. So they have a blazer, a tie, and pants. So the blazer's this nice, like, cream color, but the tie and pants look like pajamas. They're green plaid, basically, and they look very, very much. It is hard to convince yourself that those aren't pajamas that he's wearing, and his eyes are kind of droopy throughout the anime. You know, it's a very weird eye style. I've never seen it before, and it's it gives the impression that he's always just woken up.
Always just woken up.
He's just in his pajamas and stuff.
But like I said, it could bring some more character dynamic because he's very secluded.
Yeah, it gives you more theme to him.
Yeah,
more memorable.
He stands out a lot more than everybody else. I mean, you have all your girls, all the characters, and I think they all have like different hair colors, so it's easy to tell them apart. But him, you definitely can kind of connect with him, especially if you're a fan of anime. You're like, ooh, he just wants to stay at home and play video games and live in a 2D world. That's awesome. Who doesn't want to do that? Well, I don't know.
And I felt overall, besides like little things like that, the confusion factor I guess was another disappointing thing. But once you can get past that, the confusion doesn't seem to. It's not something that stays with you. It's like you don't have a grudge against it. Once you figured it out, you're like, oh, well that makes sense and it's nice. We still haven't solved everything.
No,
that's happened, but overall we finished it and we're like, that was a good conclusion.
Yeah.
Overall,
it was a good ending.
So overall, what are you gonna give this anime?
I'm gonna give it a watch. I mean, if you're a fan of psychological, this one you'll probably enjoy. This one. I mean, like I said, there's a little bit of confusion. There's a little bit of like the terminology was really out there, but overall, it was enjoyable to watch. So I'm definitely gonna say, give it a shot if you're a fan.
I have to agree. I'm gonna give it a watch as well for most of the same reasons. It was solid. And it took a while to build up, but after it builds up, it's good. It's not my favorite anime of all time. I can't give it that or anything like that. I still have some problems. It wasn't always exciting. Overall, good though.
Right.
So if you want to contact us, you can send feedback to aniview@hotmail.com or comment to us or send us a message. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye-bye.